We're all humanary stew, and this is Blenderstyle, the show where we discuss an extreme blend of music. In this episode, Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare, released 1975. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, not cheers.
I picked this because I want to do an Alice Cooper album because I work with the guy, Rockin Rob, aka King of the Job Rob.
Okay.
And I asked him, what his favorite Alice Cooper album was. This is not my favorite album, but by Alice Cooper, but this is his. So I just wanted.
But you're an Alice Cooper fan, like you have
for
albums
sure.
or you're like familiar with.
Yeah.
I like know tracks, like
I'm
singles and stuff.
in the same. I'm not a big Alice Cooper
School's
fan.
Out, like his like singles are great songs. Everyone knows these, right?
Yeah.
But you know albums like Alice Cooper album. I don't.
Yeah, for sure. I'm an Alice Cooper fan.
You're younger than us. This is from 1975.
Yeah.
This is his first solo. So he was Alice Cooper,
so
the band.
Everything that I am into, genre crossing, music, movies, if you're interested in any of these things, it's going to root back. It's going to go back to Alice Cooper. You're going to read about Alice Cooper.
That's why I wore my White Zombie shirt, because I feel like that's derivative.
It's influence.
I wish I had a White Zombie shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we almost were twinsies. So when I first listened to it, I was like, oh, this is throwback. This is clearly from 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be honest, initially I was kind of like turned off by it. I'm like, this is goofy, dude. This is silly. And I just, the Black Widow, Vincent Price comes in and I'm like, oh, like clearly I know this is Vincent Price.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is silly, but I'm like, I got to get a fair listen. That's what we do here. We give these albums like a really deep listen to. And there's a lot more to it than I initially thought.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So I'm with you. When I first listened to this, first I'm in the same boat. I know Alice Cooper tracks.
Wayne's World. I mean,
Wayne's World, Days of Confused.
The
Everyone's
song
heard
from
of
Wayne's
Alice
World,
Cooper.
by the way, the song from the Wayne's World soundtrack, Feed My Frankenstein, is fucking great.
It's a killer track.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you have to think like
Milwaukee.
Alice Cooper has had the longest career in music. You know what I mean? And
Oh,
still
in the
doing it.
60s, right? He started in the 60s with his band.
He said like stories with Jim Morrison.
So, the first track of this, one of my notes, I think it's the first one. One of my notes is it sounds like Jim Morrison,
Oh shit.
Oh, really?
like the vocals, yeah.
Mhm.
On the
This is Alice Cooper's I learned this was Alice Cooper's first solo record.
It was.
right after the band broke up, and he like legally got the name,
Mm-hmm.
but then it became his name, not the band. So before it was the band, and he was just, I think his name's Vincent.
Something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
something like-
Vincent Van Gogh.
Yeah, it's Vincent Van Gogh. He used to paint.
Yeah.
Used to take a lot of absinthe.
His in real life, I think his parents are like pastors or whatever. like,
I know that he's religious and
Yeah,
stuff.
Alice Cooper's religious. So him doing this is kind of fucking straight up blasphemy, bro. He's talking about necrophilia
Yeah,
on
there's-
Cold Ethyl, which is a banger.
Yeah, I like that it's a concept album and it goes into all these different things. It's Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's at times very almost even flamboyant in some ways.
Like cabaret.
Yeah,
This is
and not flamboyant, but you know what I mean. It gets pretty
it's a
Like
production.
show
Broadway,
tunes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it's a production. So back to what I was saying. I know tracks. Never got into Alice Cooper.
Oh, sorry about
Oh, that's fine. But when I first heard this, I thought scary porno theme song because it's got that poppy bass line. This bridged the gap. This came out around the time where it bridged the gap between the funk disco era and
It has that element.
Yeah, and you could hear it in it. Like it almost has an identity crisis. If
It does, yeah.
If this wasn't the style that Alice Cooper stuck with for a few different albums, I would think that he was just trying to fit in, but this was just his thing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
There's a lot going on here.
There's a lot going on, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so when this came out, this was like, the 1975, like disco was kind of fading out, and like Southern rock was kind of coming in to prominence. And this kind of bridges the gap. But it doesn't stop at this album. It carries that kind of sound all the way through up until
It gets like
I
more
want to
glam.
say like 86 or 86. Yeah, and then he goes kind of more glam.
Well, I can't. Yeah, I didn't
What
listen to
an
it since. So I don't know.
observation, Casey. What an observation.
Yeah. So like I remember listening to, what song was it? It wasn't on this album, but Poison, back in like 90.
Oh yeah.
90,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I remember that song.
And
Venomous Poison,
Yeah.
which doesn't make sense.
it doesn't.
Venom and poison are
Isn't
two
most-
different things.
But that was a completely different sound, and so that's what I always thought Alice Cooper was. And then we saw Dazed and Confused, and School's Out was on there, and I was
Great.
like, oh, that's the same guy. So
Well,
he
that's-
has this thing where he kind of merges like these styles, and he does a good job of merging them and stuff.
Dude, I was super surprised with his fucking range on this. There's
Yeah.
a ballad, Escape. Is it not Escape? But Escape sucks, by the way. I like this
Yeah.
album, but I think Escape.
I think
I actually like that one.
even like a track like Only Women Bleed, dude.
So I
Oh.
don't like that song, but
Yeah,
he can sing really, really,
Really,
good.
I think that's a great song, yeah.
I'm not a fan of the song, and I'm in between on the vocals on that one. Like the beginning of Steven, where he's doing that fucking whiny little kid voice thing
Yeah.
sounding. He reminds me of Axl Rose from the 80s so bad with the
You know what?
weird different
Okay.
vocal ranges going on. And I don't know if it was just a thing, because I noticed like a lot of bands did that back in like
So here's the
time.
thing with that one. He's doing like the little boy.
Mhm.
It's so Steven and then the song before it, right? They run together.
yeah.
This is like
It's
a concept
It
album.
is.
about this
It's
kid
about
Steve
Steven
having
having
night
dreams and
or
nightmares.
whatever, right? And when this would come up, this is usually a song I would skip on an album. Like
Mhm.
if there's some spoken interlude, and I just catch myself just listening to the whole thing every
Oh,
time.
dude, yeah.
Well, and that song comes out to be a really great song.
I know, it's
and it
great.
gets caught in your head. Even the songs on here that aren't that like production wise or flow wise very good, they get stuck in your head.
Dude, this is innovative stuff. I think at times they were scratching their heads when they were recording some of this
See,
stuff.
I don't see this as being innovative. I think it
really.
follows the trend for the time.
No, there's nothing. What sounds like this back then?
Kiss was doing this shit back then.
Dude, this
Kiss
is
sucks.
better
Well,
than
no,
Kiss.
no shit, they do. But that's what I'm saying. Like this
I
bridge
don't
gap.
This is not like Kiss.
No, it's
I
not.
couldn't.
But I'm saying the bridge gap with the shock rock factor, trying to.
Did Kiss have like fucked up necrophilia lyrics?
Who fucking
This is
knows?
necrophilia
I think
lyrics
Kiss mostly sung about his mom. Gene sung about his mom or something. I don't know.
about making money. Fuck
Son
that
of
This
guy.
is a
Son
different.
about
This
being
is
a
a
little
different
bitch.
episode. We could talk about Kiss, but I don't. I would have to disagree with this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is pretty innovative. I think the concept of it, the tour the massive tour that he did with this. You know, he came out with a DVD, a mini TV series and stuff. I mean,
really.
he set the groundwork for a lot of these bands. And when I
So was-
listen to this, I think his impact is even seen to this day. You know, people always say like Marilyn Manson, or people say Rob
I think
Zombie
those
and
guys
stuff.
ripped him off.
I don't think that. I think that they borrowed from it.
it's
and they
influenced
kinda
by
made
it for sure.
for sure. But I mean, what is it influenced by? What? Come on, you know.
Right. Everything's derivative
Yeah.
stuff.
And
Him doing this though, there was like clearly other bands and artists doing darker kind of more stuff.
Mhm.
Like he really went over the top, and I think he came in with a budget on this because he has like a lot of like Tony Levin plays bass on a couple songs.
That's because he owed him a favor. I don't think he paid for it.
It's some like dark pack that they have, like dark. And Tony, he played on Liquid Tension Experiment with Mike Portnoy and some dudes from Dream Theater, which is
Mhm.
better in Dream Theater in my opinion. And he also did a bunch of Peter Gabriel. But there's like clearly a lot of effort going into this.
man, I think you're underestimating even the guitar work that is in this. Some
No,
of
the
the
guitar
solo
works-
work that
some
is
of the
going
Playing
on.
on this is so
The
good.
brass that is in on this. The
You couldn't be a
strings that
band
are
in the
on
70s
this.
and not play.
Dude, and think of this. This is performing art. So like he's performing on record. Alice Cooper is better live. I saw Alice Cooper like maybe 3 years ago.
No shit.
Killing it still. Not moving around like you used to, but dude, still putting on a show.
He was born in what, like he's like 40s, the 40s?
Yeah,
somewhere around there. Yeah,
dude, they were playing in the
45, I
60s, you know, as the band Alice Cooper, you know.
Dude.
I think their first name was like Earwigs or whatever, and then went on to Alice Cooper, and then, you know.
yeah.
But I think this is really cool stuff. I enjoy it, you know.
So I agree with you that the guitars are really good. There's some great guitar work. The brass is killer, and they use that piano, the clavinet or whatever, the piano with the rubber plungers or whatever, and it sounds really cool. But to me, it sounds like everything else that was coming out around that time, with that gap bridge between disco and funk and rock.
It definitely sounds 70s.
I think this is more, in my opinion, this is more of a show than it is an album. And I think you're right. Alice Cooper kills it live. He's always done a good show.
That's a good point, man.
But on album, it just doesn't portray the same way. The pace is off because of all the spoken word parts and the intros and stuff, and it slows it down. It works great live, but on album, it just slows it down.
To me, yeah, it sounds real 70s and what's going on, but it's also kind of like you said, it's kind of also foreshadowing him in his 80s career and his 90s career. Like, I feel like he had a great transition, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, his whole career is pretty dang good, you know. I like albums more than I like this album later, you know what I mean? That's awesome.
Well, I think like bands like or artists like this, they keep trying new things to stay relevant.
With the times and relevant.
Yeah, to stay relevant. Like, you know, Cher and Madonna and like artists like these that last decades.
Yeah, but Alice Cooper's way cooler for me.
You don't like Cher?
Cher's cool. I like songs by Cher. I have nothing bad to say about Cher, really. I had to watch.
Clearly, Alice Cooper's
My
cooler.
mom made me watch movies with Cher in it.
God.
You know?
Mask? Totally, dude.
Mask, dude.
With Eric
See how I
Stoltz?
laugh?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a fucked up individual.
So I'm with you. I'm with you on the songwriting. Like, there's some really catchy parts, even the songs that, like I said, that aren't great. I feel like there's catchy choruses and stuff on it, but also this is analog recording at its finest. Like,
oh, it sounds killer.
Yeah, you could hear the tape hiss in the background. You could hear the levels not being perfect, but it works so well on
You can hear the drums.
Dude, this is them
you can hear
a-
the echo of the room in the drum tracks, and it's
Oh,
so
it's
good.
so good.
This is them bringing a brass
Yeah.
musicians in and probably just messing with it and like getting with it, you know what I mean? To me, that's just so much cooler. Now somebody's got a keyboard and it sounds like brass and stuff. It's like these guys had to pay money, put this record together.
Well, but there's also no feel in the new stuff. You know, like you said, you're hitting a button on a keyboard, so you don't get any of the ambience of the room. You don't feel the room. You don't feel the amps and the mics and stuff.
Do you guys think the 70s are the best decade for music?
I don't think the musical style is the best,
It's
but
pretty
I think maybe the recording qualities were the best. I mean, I think Dave Weindorf said something about that
From Monster Magnet?
from Monster Magnet, because he always goes for he wants that raw sound.
Lots of bands do that with old like tube amps and shit like that.
I mean, most people play
Opeth does that, right? They find like 1960s gear and then they're like in
and
like.
it's also about the recording. You can record with some of that gear, but like that real analog sound, man, unless you're doing it that way, you're not really gonna.
It's hard to do.
Yeah,
and
then
this
like
captures it good.
People now go to some of the same producers, like within genres. You know, like all metal bands are going to this one producer, and people go to this one producer for like 7-10 years. And everything sounds the same. Kill Switch Engage era. Not to
Shadow and Capitation.
Exactly.
They're going to Dave Otero over and over.
The whole Ross Robbins.
Ross Robbins, great example.
Yeah, everybody used him in the early 2000s.
Ross Robinson.
Yeah, Ross Robinson. Everybody used him, and everything sounded good, but it all sounded the same.
Yeah, he did fucking Korn, right? And then he did Sepultura, which was weird. And then he did Slipknot.
He did. I think he did Fear Factory's original demo.
Well, that's tight.
That they didn't pay him for, and that's why they never released it.
Really?
I think we talked about that in one of the episodes. Oh. But yeah. So I mean, other than like, the popular stuff, School's Out, Poison, No More Mr. Nice Guy, I'm not a huge Alice Cooper fan. I'm a huge
Feed
fan.
My Frankenstein.
I didn't even really like that
That's a
song that
great
much.
song.
Oh, man.
I'm more of an Alice Cooper's show fan. I think his show and his stage presence, his ability to get the audience going is great, but I just don't think it portrays onto album for him. And so for me, I give this a 2.2 out of 5.
Okay.
I think that, there's too much narration that slows us down. The shock factor doesn't portray over to album. Although I also think that,
this is what makes it creepy.
well, but I also
he's
think,
like la la la.
but see, to me,
la,
that just-
doing you under the light.
but to me, that's
like,
just cheesy. And maybe that's it. In the 70s, that would be
This is
considered.
weird to me that you don't like this. I like this.
Well, no, because listen, in the 70s, stuff like that was probably pretty creepy. And I mean, that was like the forefront of the parents not wanting their kids to listen to the devil music or whatever.
Oh, for sure. This is totally
but
like that.
nowadays, my shock factor scale is way higher. And to me, this is like watching a B horror movie. It's not scary. It's funny. And I know now why the parents didn't want their kids listening to this in the 70s, because they were afraid they would kill themselves from boredom.
oh gosh.
I completely disagree.
So
I completely
So
disagree.
what do
Yeah.
you think?
Okay, so I was only familiar with the same singles you talked about, plus Feed My Frankenstein, right?
Well, I mean, I was familiar
So
with
I was
it,
going into this thinking he was only like a shock factor, kind of like Kiss. I don't
Mhm.
like Kiss. I think Kiss is just shock factor. It's probably great live. I don't know. I give this a 4.0 out of 5. I feel like this plays great as an album. It is like a stage show where there's like those weird interlude parts where he's doing the creepy vocals, but it's not just like the music's good, dude. It would probably be even better live.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah,
I feel
think
like
live, I would give this a way
there's
better
so
rating.
much variety here. You got like, hard rock. It sounds like it's from the 70s. Vincent Price is on this. It's great. You know
And
what I
at
mean?
times it makes you want to even boogie, dude.
It
Makes you want,
boogies, dude.
yeah. Like I think, and that's maybe the great meld of the 70s. You had great artists that definitely came out in the 70s, and sometimes I don't need to hear something that's innovative and new to hear something new. This sounds so original, and nothing sounds like this to me compared to like what if I hear something nowadays that would try to pull this off. It would sound like a gimmick or a mock-up.
Everyone's
This sounds
nailing it.
genuine.
Yeah.
It's it's
agree.
on it, and just to also see it play out really well, that's great. But it's not my favorite Alice Cooper record, but I give it a 4.2.
Nice,
It's a great record.
but not your favorite Alice Cooper.
No, I mean, honestly, like you said in the beginning, I'm an Alice Cooper fan. I like I like Alice Cooper. So I'll probably pick Alice Cooper again. It's probably not gonna be the last time we do it on this show. It's not my favorite Alice Cooper record, but that one's for you, Rob. That was Alice Cooper. Welcome to My Nightmare.
Welcome to my blender. Whoa.